Welcome to the Owl's Corner. I am Rune, and on the other
Claire!
on our other mic we have the invisible.
Me! Claire, hi. Hello.
And today's Weirdness Wednesday. So, like, what does that mean, Claire?
So, on Wednesdays, we talk about weird things. So, criminal cases, cryptids, paranormal
Spooky
stuff,
dookies.
spooky dookies. We generally try to have somewhat of a theme for each month, just to kind of link what we're doing together a little bit.
I love you too, honey. My fiance wrote in the chat.
Always
uh,
good.
but we do these when we do cases specifically, like criminal cases or otherwise, like the just crime stuff, not necessarily murder, but like crime stuff. We are fully doing it to pay respects to like the victims and stuff. We're not doing anything to disrespect them. We are just spreading knowledge to help keep people safe and stuff.
hmm
um In fact, this
And
week we actually both have some very interesting and relevant cases, and our whole thing that we're going back into this with is that we are trying to do that where we're making sure that we are being respectful to that.
mhm.
um, but my person today, I'm not talking about yet, but little snippet of a sample. Um, this is mainly to let the ladies around Michigan know a little PSA about somebody who is, well, let's just say he should be on the offenders list and he's not. But speaking of offenders, let's get into Claire's case.
Yeah, a little bit ironic how, like, once again, we unintentionally matched up even farther than, like, we intended to.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm talking about Fabio Ortega, who is by far probably one of the worst cases of medical malpractice recently seen to date, not to mention, unfortunately, sexual assault. So, um, Fabio Ortega is generally from the Chicago area. He was a gynecologist.
A gynecologist?
Gynecologist. I'm sorry, my brain.
A
I want to.
gynecologist!
I want to pronounce things the way I read them, Rune. You know this.
I know you do. I know, and you also
Okay.
spell things very funny when you do sometimes.
Shush. Which is weird because I have such a high level reading comprehension. But either way, gynecologist. Um. So Fabio Ortega was first investigated way back in the first time he was ever investigated, I believe, was in 2016, but nothing came of that. Um, and during this investigation, Ortega essentially took a year off, asked for vacation. Um, uh,
And was
the
just
more
allowed to do that.
Yeah. The more
That's.
serious investigation that led to him officially being arrested was in 2021. He was sentenced to 3 years of imprisonment after pleading guilty to sexually assaulting two of his patients. Although, and here's the big thing, allegations of his abuse detailed in the complaint date back to more than 3 decades.
Good God.
In the research done since then and investigation conducted since then, it is believed that, unfortunately, he committed his first offense was in 1898.
Mm.
Yeah, and this obviously by the picture you can see he's older. He's 77 or 78 right now, so he is older. So unfortunately, he's been doing
So
this
1988.
nine or yeah 1988 or no
Okay.
1989, not 1890. Yeah, 1989.
Okay. Okay. Cool. We're on the same page
Dates.
again.
Dates. Okay. Unfortunately, also throughout this investigation, or investigation that has been conducted since then, because the reason why this case is current is because there are still being lawsuits filed, not just against him, but also the uh, healthcare system he worked with. But either way, the current count of women who were unfortunately abused or assaulted by him is believed to be about 300.
That
Um,
is astronomical. Just a second. I'm not going to
yes.
hear you for like a minute. I'm just turning my light off.
Okay. I will keep talking.
Okay, there we go. That's some better lighting. Sorry, the lighting designer was not happy. They needed to break free. Uh,
All right. So, um, the most recent lawsuit that was filed was literally last week, Monday or Tuesday. It was
oh,
that recent.
oh, Cash.
And going back to what I said, when he was officially arrested and tried in 2021, unfortunately, because we don't treat sexual assault seriously enough, he was only sentenced to 3 years. He's already out and free again.
That's disgusting.
Yes. He has had his medical license revoked. No
Well,
one
at
will ever be
least
trusting
there's
him again.
that.
Yeah, but part of the issue is that there were multiple complaints against him, again, dating back, because again, the first case was supposedly in 1989, but police didn't look into it, or the hospital he was working at generally didn't look into it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the lawsuits that I mentioned are specifically against the hospitals. Because I
Thank
will
you,
say
Wendy.
that before he was arrested in 2021, during a full year that he was being investigated, they still allowed him to practice medicine, and they did not tell his patients that he was being investigated for sexual assault.
That is
So during
ridiculous.
so during that year, it's believed he is abused at least 6 women
Gross.
because they did not, warn the patients.
Yeah.
So these hospitals that are involved was the Swedish Covenant Hospital and North Shore University Health System. And generally, what like the big lawsuit is saying against this is that they specifically concealed the abuse and countless other red flags for decades while giving Ortega unfettered access to abuse female patients at its hospitals and clinics under the guise of medical care.
Yucky.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Um,
so gross.
so obviously, the lawyers involved are very passionate about this because this is obviously a huge issue. They fully intend to hold everybody accountable for their inactions, as high as they can. Um, of course, the hospitals are doing what they do. They are not commenting on the specific allegations because of patient privacy and the ongoing litigation. I'm sure there's more to it because they're trying to cover the butts still. So, sorry, I'm trying to find my next spot.
You got this. I
So,
believe in you.
yeah. So, unfortunately, part of the reason why he was able to sexually abuse so many people was because a lot of the women that were sent to him were either Spanish or Latina, or generally, smaller ethnicities,
Mm-hmm.
including some women who didn't know English very well.
Oh, he is the scummiest of scum.
Yes. But also, the problem was a lot of these women were first time, mothers, first time pregnant, so they didn't know what, an examination should have looked like.
Oh
There
yes.
are there are multiple accounts of several women going like, okay, this doesn't feel right, this feels unnecessary and or iffy, and would ask nurses and other people around like, hey, he just did this need to be done? And they would say, of course, yes, he's the doctor, he knows what he's doing. Did it have to be? Absolutely not. This is going to be a little iffy. If people don't want to listen to this, I'm going to start describing some stuff he did specifically. So just don't listen for like the next 5 minutes. So,
I can't
unfortunately,
tune out.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I am
Um,
here for the long haul.
uh, yes. So, probably the worst thing he did is vaginal examinations with ungloved hands. That women would say were closer to sexual stimulation than examination, uh, and that he would
Gross.
have the women, practice essentially pushing while his fingers were in them and commenting on what good girls they were.
Sir, no. No.
um, Supposedly he would do breast examinations during nearly every employment or every appointment. Um,
Employment! Oh my god, that'd be even worse. I wouldn't be surprised if
no.
that was also going on, though.
Um, but yeah, no. There is apparently even one case of a woman being asked to completely strip for him to examine them.
No.
Yes. Um, some of these women, when they were interviewed, had commented that they had not gone to see another gynecologist since being treated by Ortega because obviously huge breach of trust and trauma created by what this man did.
Yup. Disgusting inhuman.
Okay, I am going to say what the worst thing was. So, probably the worst case of abuse that Ortega generated happened in 2016, which was when the very first initial investigation happened that wasn't treated super seriously occurred. And what happened was that a patient who was already a rape victim went to the hospital for a rape kit.
Oh my god.
Yep. So
Scummiest of scum.
uh unfortunately, obviously he proceeded to do the rape kit in a very uncomfortable manner, examining her breasts. And when you're doing a rape kit, you're supposed to use a speculum so you can take a swab and just, collect some of the
Internal tissue.
internal tissue.
And any
Um,
specimen that might be left over from DNA.
yep, thank you for helping me word that. Did he do that? No, he used his fingers.
Oh my god.
Again. Um, so yeah. Uh, not good.
No. No, no, no. Not at all.
Um, And the reason why, like, all these lawsuits and allegations are still coming out to this day is, again, the people he saw didn't necessarily know how a gynecologist was supposed to act. So a lot of people didn't recognize it as abuse, unfortunately. So
Because he
the
took
lawyer,
advantage of very, what's the word, innocent, I would say for this specifically, people.
mhm. um, so
Disgusting.
of course there is previous history before he was hired by the hospital.
Of course there
Specifically,
is.
when he put in his application in 1989, he stated that he had been previously sued by a patient who alleged that he had performed a procedure without written consent. Um,
Okay, so, gross still.
yep. Unfortunately, also, other things he did was ask about the sexual positions the women and their husbands participated in.
No, absolutely not. You do not need to know that.
It got worse because then he would ask, "Is your husband, satisfying you?"
Oh my goodness. That is none of your business.
Nope. Um. Um. Uh. Also, apparently asked one patient, whether she had anal sex.
No. You are in the wrong hole, sir. Go back.
Mm-hmm.
But don't.
Um.
Don't ever go back.
Yep. Yeah. No. One woman in particular who did have Ortega as uh, their doctor for their first pregnancy when they got pregnant again and was assigned to him went, no thank you, assign me someone else please.
I mean, understandable.
Yeah.
Creepy, creep, creep, creep.
But yeah, so kind of generally just overall very bad, because again it does not help that based on the amount of complaints the hospital got from women that he should have been looked into sooner but wasn't. And the good thing they're doing, though, is that all the women in the story are referred to as Jane Doe. Thankfully, there is no one trying to make it even possible for people to blame the women for, what happened. Like, unfortunately, some Americans do.
I appreciate when they make sure that doesn't.
But also, once again, I'm going to say this 300 women.
Yeah,
And there's possibly still more.
he is a monster from the pits of
Yeah.
hell. That's what I
And he
mean when I
is.
say go back to the hole you came from. The pits of hell.
Yep. So, not a great man. And everyone is obviously still facing repercussions because of this. So on and so forth for who knows how long.
Yeah.
For a long while. But yeah, no, like seriously, only 3 years and he didn't even serve them all three.
Disgusting.
He got he got out on parole.
Disgusting.
So not good, not nice, not fun. Unfortunately, just a horrible, horrible example of what can happen because of our mental
What
health
humans
care
can
system.
be.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible example of it. Um,
But that's my story. I'm sorry for anybody listening who obviously was uncomfortable by this topic. I tried to be as careful with it as I could, but it's still not a fun topic, but something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah. I'll try and find some useful links and I'll put them in the YouTube description kind of thing. If you've had any issues or that kind of thing that you need either somebody to talk to or something like that, we'll try and find some stuff for that. Um,
Yeah.
Cause my case doesn't get any much better. It's actually about a very similar thing, but like slightly different, in which
Yeah.
it is a
And
person who is out. However, he also helped kill some people. Um,
oof.
but before we get into that, let's do a quick little breaky break.
Yeah, I think that's needed. Ooh.
So,
There's like a difference between reading about a person and formulating a story and then actually talking about it.
yeah, 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 it can be rough. That's when we did a couple of cases back. That's what ended up happening. That I was like, wow, this actually destroyed me more than I thought it would. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
So also just generally, obviously this made me uncomfortable for a different reason. So anybody listening, I am on the asexuality spectrum. I'm okay talking about sex and sexual manners, but it's still not, I guess, my favorite
necessarily
topic.
comfy.
Yeah.
Um,
And one of our other friends is fully asexual, does not like talking about this at all. So
yes, conversation is never brought up because we avoid it because
we
we love
avoided it.
them. And I'm not going
Um,
to say their gender either because they want to be anonymous.
yeah, we love them. That's the important thing.
Yes.
Just like we love each other. Okay, onwards to talking about, uh, nicer, easier things before we get back
Yeah,
into the.
quick, easy, nice thing. So my trade samples I got from work, I got some banana kush cake. It look, it looks good. And then I got a sherb cake pre-roll, nicely
Mhm.
packaged, looks good. Let's see, another Hell's Bananas. So apparently it's a banana-themed basket. And then Cheech and Chong papaya cake number 5 pre-rolls, and I believe these are infused. Yeah, these are infused. Good stuff, but that's what I got right now. um, and I've been nomming through a burrito while I've been listening. Not gonna lie, the good shit. But if we're ready, I'm gonna head back to my case. So, those of you who might be from the local area might have saw on the news that a dude by the name of Brent was giving out his card to people trying to do kind of like an Uber thing. Um, his name is actually Brent Coster, and if you look up his name, you'll find out that he's not someone who should have any sort of ride share of any sort. And I'm gonna get right into that right now. So in July of 1972, this young man, Brent Coster, he's 15 years old at the time, him and his buddy who worked at the gas station where the first set of events occurred, Danny Rains, who is 28 at the time, he is now dead. Rest in distress. Um, but the gas station that Danny was working at, a couple of girls from Chicago were passing through, kind of thing, and they stopped to get gas. And not a lot of the specifics are fully written out right now that I can find because most of it's just generalized. Here's what the case was, and for the most part, he is very similar to the case I did a little bit ago, the Ken and Barbie killers, where he shouldn't be fucking out. He's just as much to blame as the other person. I don't care if he was 15. You still make those choices. That's what I say on that. But the two men had abducted Linda Clark, who is 19, and Claudia Bidstrup, who is also 19, and they raped them and killed them. They were two Chicago residents that were literally just wrong place, wrong time, unfortunately. Um, but they had stopped at a local Kalamazoo service station, where this is the one that Rains had worked at, and they weren't heard from again, unfortunately. So, after everything had been, just paused for a little bit, about a month, real heavy time on that, just a month. But a month later, the two picked up an 18-year-old hitchhiker, or she was hitchhiking. She wasn't a hitchhiker. She was actually a student at Western Michigan University. Pamela Fearnow, and they did the same thing to her, and unfortunately she met the same fate where they raped and killed her. The only reason that Coster is currently out is because he took a plea deal so that he would plead guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for, a lower sentence, in exchange for testifying against Rains. In which is kind of bullshit because in his testimony he very much informed the police officers and stuff that I, in fact, enjoyed and was very willing to participate in this. So he made his fucking choice. I don't care that he was 15. He made his choice. The original judge on the case in 1972 said on record Mr. Coster should never be released. Well, guess what? January of 2021, the Michigan Parole Board released Coster on parole against the Kalamazoo County prosecutor's objections. In recent years, he now lives in an apartment in Battle Creek. And he's actually like 67, so he's an old, ugly ass dude. Actually, the card that he had been handing out, kind of thing, I put on the screen, and you can see how creepy the message is that cash up front or wheels don't roll. Definitely not terrifying. Yes, very terrifying. What the fuck, bro? Not bro. You don't deserve a bro. Lowest of low human. But, mind you, he only pleaded guilty to the second-degree murder charge. He never pleaded guilty to any sort of sexual assault. So, even though he participated in the rapes as well as the murder, he is not a registered sex offender, even though he most definitely should be. But like also the family of the third victim, Pamela Fearnow, her sister fully thought that he had to, and it was part of his parole that he had to. Turns out, nope, he didn't have to, which is bullshit. But he tried to start his own little taxi service. Yeah, a week after he tried to do that, his parole officer immediately shut that shit down. Sucks to suck, motherfuck. But Claire's still gone.